rehabilitated, and real entertaining. This is the Carl Jackson Podcast.
All right, we're all Trumpsters now. Guys, by now you know that we've just crossed the bridge, Rubicon, whatever you want to call it. We've just entered into, if you weren't sure that the left wanted to fundamentally transform America, they've just done it. They've just done it. With this indictment of Trump, they've just done it. We're all Trumpsters now. Carl, what do you mean by that? I'm going to get into that in this podcast, but we are all Trumpsters now. See, the left isn't used to pushback. They're used to having conservatives and Republicans hand them the Vaseline and then the Republicans bending over for themselves. They didn't get that with Trump. They're not getting that with many of you. They haven't gotten that with Governor Ron DeSantis. So anybody that stands up against the left, anyone that stands up against the machine, anyone that stands up against the status quo, they're going to destroy, even if it means destroying the greatest country in the world. And make no doubt about it, no matter where you stand politically, I don't care if you're a Republican, I don't care if you're a Democrat, I don't care if you're an independent, you're a libertarian. What happened yesterday, the indictment of former President Donald Trump, is a complete and utter disgrace. The left is telling you that they will go after the figurehead of MAGA, and they will go after you. If they can take down a former president, imagine what they can do to you. I want you guys to consider. That what happened yesterday. The breaking news that we got in the morning, I was so happy to hear. You were so happy to hear. All of us that love real justice, true justice, we're happy to hear. And that is Jacob Chansley, also known as the QAnon shaman, was released from prison 14 months early, I believe, because of the Tucker Carlson videos. Actually, not Tucker Carlson videos, our videos that the state Capitol Police refused to release before Nancy Pelosi, whomever else was involved. And then you have Speaker of the House now, Kevin McCarthy, gets involved. He gives the J6 videos to Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson just lets out a few videos, basically. And Jacob Chansley, the QAnon shaman, is walking around, being ushered around, it seems to be, by state Capitol Police. The guy is totally innocent. The charges were totally trumped up. I hope that he is able to get his day in court where he's able to sue the crap out of all of these people that put him behind bars and mentally tortured this guy for at least a couple of years behind bars and ruined his life for that short period of time. Unfreaking believable. And we're also forgetting the names of the Covenant School victims. We've also noticed that we've also noticed that the left is quickly trying to wipe away the story of a trans terrorist massacring Christians. Right? They want that story completely gone. They want it out of the picture. What happened this week while Christians were slaughtered? You have trans activists going wild. You have trans activists, the White House supporting the trans movement. Hardly any word of the victims, the Christian victims that were assassinated, that were slaughtered at the Covenant School. Biden this week in the headlines today rejected the efforts of the Congress to harden schools around the country. And when I mean harden schools, make them safer by providing like an off-duty or retired military or law enforcement officers to protect these kids. Biden just rejects it outright. That's not in the news. But Trump gets indicted over some convoluted paperwork that the prosecution can't even seem to be able to prove. Guys, we are living. I've been saying this for years. I remember I told you years ago, I heard Mark Levin say this over a decade ago, that we live in a post-constitutional America. On that same day, it was like God was speaking to me. On that same day, I was listening to Pastor John MacArthur while I was out walking our dogs. I was listening to Pastor John MacArthur. That same day, he said, we're in a post-Christian America. So you got Mark Levin. I mean, again, this was over a decade ago. Man, I'm not sure they knew how right they were. Over a decade ago. Unbelievable. So the shaman being released, because of trumped up charges quickly drowned out of the headlines, because now we have to start looking at all of the J6 protesters and all of the corruption behind those that are improperly jailed, right? So we have to think about all that. That was just wiped out of the news. What about the names of the Covenant School victims? Because we're not talking about them. You know, you got this Trans Day of Vengeance, but we're not talking about the victims. We're not talking about Evelyn DeKeis. I'm sorry, or I don't know how to pronounce the name properly, but Evelyn Dieckaus, Hallie Scruggs, who was the daughter of Chad Scruggs, who is the lead pastor at the Covenant Presbyterian Church, which the Covenant School is attached to. You got William Kinney. 9-year-old children that were slaughtered by a trans terrorist, but we're not hearing anything about that. And then you got the 3 adult victims. You got Catherine Kuntz, 60 years old, who served as the head of the school. Parents and relatives described Kuntz as a remarkable woman, close quote, with a bright spirit, and say that Kuntz was adored by the students. She knew every single student by name. She did everything to help them when families couldn't afford things. It didn't matter. She found ways for them to stay. What does that mean? All right, because I've worked at a Christian private school before. Back in the day, my wife taught at one. And so we know exactly how these things work. There's a lot of times where parents want their kids to have a better education, and sometimes they can pay sometimes up front. Sometimes parents pay all of it up front. Sometimes parents have to pay a monthly. But a lot of parents really do sacrifice to try to give their kids a better education. And sometimes it is up to the grace and the mercy of some of these school leaders, if you will, to allow them to stay in the school when sometimes they fall on rough times. But they still want their kids to be able to have a good education, and these school leaders will work with them because they develop relationships with these parents and these students. It's a beautiful thing. Cynthia Peak is another victim of the trans terrorist, age 61. She was a substitute teacher who was filling in that day. That day. Do you understand how tragic this is? These are the questions when scenarios like this occur. This is when you ask God, why? 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 Her husband, her daughter, 2 sons, no longer have a mother. Mowed down by a domestic terrorist. Mowed down. Then you got the 3rd adult victim, a gentleman by the name of Mike Hill, 61-year-old janitor, who his daughter said he absolutely, everyone knows that he absolutely loved working at that school. People treat you right. His children probably love the guy, love the atmosphere. Just mowed down. And nobody's talking about these guys. So Mike Hill, Cynthia Peak, Catherine Kuntz, and the children, Evelyn Dieckaus, and forgive me, Hallie Scruggs, William Kinney. William Kinney. Oh, man, this is just sad. But we're not talking about that. Instead, we're indicting a former president over some BS charges. BS charges. So the real criminals are no longer criminals. You know what that indictment said yesterday? Because it is so much bigger than Trump. That indictment said that Republicans and conservatives, all of us that subscribe to a Judeo-Christian value system, all of us that subscribe to the Constitution of the United States, what that indictment said yesterday is screw you. That's what they said. The rapists, the murderers, the gangsters in New York City and the Manhattan area, all of these freaking people, those are the good people that Alvin Bragg wants to lift up. But those of you that love America, that love the rule of law, screw you. We crossed the Rubicon yesterday. Make no mistake about it. This is, it's unbelievable. I'm in a weird state. I'm in disbelief. I'm in disbelief. We've just been told that if you disagree with the regime, they are going to find a crime to make your life miserable. They are going to find a crime. If you don't bow down to the regime, if you don't bow down to the left, they are going to make your life a living hell. And they are willing to go as high as a former president. Imagine what they'll do to you. Jacob Chansley knows. Imagine what they'll do to you. Guys, stay tuned for some quick program messaging, and I'm going to get right back into this, including the Trans Day of Vengeance that was just canceled. We're going to talk about this Trump indictment a little more. So just real quickly, stay tuned for some quick program messaging. All right, guys, I appreciate, listen, we're all going to need a good night's sleep after all of this craziness. Sometimes we just need to rest and we need to think. We need to be able to sit up and think and lay our heads on a nice pillow or, dream, right? Have a good night's sleep and dream maybe. And you can get a great pillow from mypillow.com. Mike Lindell, the owner of MyPillow, has come out with a wonderful new product. Just when you thought the MyPillow couldn't get any better, he's come out with MyPillow 2.0. And of course, it's American made, American manufacturing, American jobs. So please support the people at MyPillow. So Mike invented MyPillow about 20 years ago, or nearly 20 years ago. And now he's discovered this new technology where he has this temperature regulating thread. So with the new MyPillow 2.0, you get the same inner workings, right, of the original MyPillow, or the same filler, but now it has a better outer layer that's softer, smoother, and cooler when you lay your head down to rest. Listen, you can take advantage of this deal, a buy one, get one free offer exclusive to my listeners. All you have to do is go to mypillow.com. Click on the radio listener square that's at the top of the page. All right, mypillow.com. Click on the radio listener square. Enter my name, Carl, C-A-R-L, and take advantage of the deal, the buy one, get one free MyPillow offer, right? Exclusive to my listeners. Or if you prefer, you can give them a call at 800-858-0263. That is 800-858-0263. Okay, so let's just recap. Let's recap. Because understand what the left is doing. They are forming, or guys, we are so damn close to a banana republic. I'm tempted. I'm tempted to say we're there. We've definitely just crossed that bridge. Again, they indict Trump over convoluted paperwork. You had the attorney of Michael Cohen come out last week and said Michael Cohen lies like nobody business. This was the attorney of Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen, who told him, and he gave Michael Cohen, Robert Costello did, his attorney, an opportunity to out Donald Trump. And and Michael Cohen told him that $130,000 that was paid to Stormy Daniels came out of a HELOC loan that he got for himself. The Trump campaign didn't know about it. His wife didn't even know about it. And yet they find a reason to indict Trump anyway, but it's under a sealed indictment. From what I understand of a sealed indictment, usually you keep a sealed indictment for the most vicious of criminals and someone that you think might escape or flee, or flee. That isn't happening with Donald Trump. So the goal is to keep this thing under indictment and let this thing play out in the media as long as possible. And they hope the left does, Alvin Bragg does, because he's been a crappy DA. New York, the Manhattan district has gone to hell in a handbasket, hell with gasoline draws on. And this fool, honestly, if you voted for Alvin Bragg, I'm sorry, you're getting exactly what you deserve. I do not feel sorry for you. I'm sorry, I don't. I'm tired of this crap. I'm so tired of this. Enough is enough. You vote for these DAs like Alvin Bragg and crime, murder, rape, all this crap. I hate to say it, but that's what you voted for. Understand that. You're getting exactly what you voted for in Alvin Bragg. So I don't feel sorry for any single one of you unless you're repentant and like, I'm not voting for that idiot again and I'm campaigning against him. This little punk is willing to fundamentally I don't even know if he's smart enough. This guy went to Harvard. What does that tell you about Harvard? What does that tell you about Harvard? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So all of this wipes out all of the disasters of the Biden administration. 150, allegedly Trump is going to be indicted on over 34 charges or 30 plus charges. Apparently each time a payment was made to Michael Cohen's office. So for each payment, he'll be charged, allegedly. That's what I'm hearing. What about the 150 SARS reports on the Biden crime family? You know, the left is sitting out there saying, oh, well, you know what? Trump is above the law, or no one's above the law. Nobody is above the law. You've seen the AstroTurf protests right out in front of Trump Tower and in places in New York yesterday. No one's above the law, all this kind of stuff. They had their signs all printed out beautifully. Notice there was no scribbling. All these stuff. It's just a bunch of AstroTurf. Nobody is above the law except for Democrats. If you're a Democrat, you can make up trumped up charges like Alvin Braggs did to take down a former president of the United States. If you're a Democrat, you can have 150 suspicious activity reports when you're not a foreign agent. You're making money with foreigners overseas, including the Chinese Communist Party. They're paying you money. 150 suspicious activity reports. Does Trump have one? So you can do that as a senator, as a vice president, and you won't go to jail because you're a Democrat and you're a politician, when you and I would be spending decades in prison. Decades in prison. So here's what you need to understand. What the left just told you yesterday is that, listen, no one is above the law except Democrats. No one is above the law except Democrats. Just get it. Just understand it. The Shaman, Jacob Chansley, everyday American, he's not above the law, except he didn't even commit a crime now that we saw the Unleashed video. And they kept him in solitary confinement for, I think, 11 months. You know how hard that would be not to go insane, especially when you know you're freaking innocent? They won't even mention the names. The left won't, and the mainstream media, MSNBC, CNN, you can find the names of the victims of the Covenant School shooting, but their hosts are up there defending trans rights, defending trans people, defending people with a freaking mental disorder. And I'm not here to minimize mental disorders. I feel sorry for people that actually have a mental disorder, but I'm not going to sit here and participate in this nonsense that we should be celebrating this crap. What is there to celebrate? Confusion? Real crimes. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter with the left. Real crimes don't matter. Rape, murder, robbery, larceny, all of those people busting in a store just taking crap. None of that stuff matters. Why? Because those are the people that are really oppressed by America. The criminals are the real oppressed people. This stuff is so insane to me. I can't believe it. What did I do with my? It's just insane to me, guys. I don't even know that I have the words to be able to express the situation that we're in, how dangerous it really is. I want you to listen to a couple of audio clips. And again, I think I'm framing this as, because I've been thinking through this, and it's just, I am in somewhat of a state of disbelief. But I think I'm framing this as Democrats are above the law. I want you to listen to this audio clip of Representative Adam Schiff of California, the guy that promulgated the Russia collusion hoax, the Ukraine hoax, completely lied as a representative in Congress. Even after the Robert Mueller investigation proved him to be a liar, he still continues to lie. Even now, FBI whistleblowers that have come out proving the guy is a liar and he should be in jail, he continues to lie. But here's the Representative Adam Schiff that the media is still willing to listen to and give him airtime. The guy should be cuffed, in my opinion. He shouldn't be getting airtime. You don't believe that? You don't believe that we're living in a banana republic? Let's listen to Adam Schiff here, Gabe.
That a former president would be, eventually arrested for criminal charges. But if the grand jury in Manhattan believed there was probable cause they had committed a crime, and clearly they did, and the Manhattan DA believes they can prove it beyond reasonable doubt, he should be charged like anybody else. There has to be one standard of the rule of law. It has to be applied equally to everyone. And so I think this is, an important affirmation of the justice system that it applies to everyone. No one gets a pass. No one should get special treatment. And indeed, holding those who hold power accountable is extremely important.
All right, so that's Adam Full of Schiff, the guy that perpetuated the Russia collusion hoax, also the Ukraine hoax, and impeached Donald Trump, participated in the impeachment of Donald Trump, and both were fraud. And I noticed he didn't mention Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats and any Republicans. I don't care who's guilty of it. The Republicans, the Democrats that are guilty of insider trading. So no word from that news organization or from Adam Full of Schiff if Nancy Pelosi is going to be perp walked, if her husband are going to be perp walked for doing what you and I would go to jail for 20 years over. Insider trading. No word on that. Did you know that there were a lot of congressmen? Someone reminded me, I was watching some show and they reminded me of this. I actually mentioned this years ago on my show and I had completely forgotten about it. The amount of congressmen that have signed non-disclosure agreements because they've been involved in criminal activity of some sort, whether it's something sexual, whether it's something financial, and these names have not been disclosed. This needs to be open books material. All of their names should be exposed. I don't care if they're Republican. I don't care if they're Democrat. I don't care what they are. These people should not be above the law. But what we're being taught is that if you're a Democrat, you can do whatever the hell you want to do. You can do insider trading like the Pelosi's did. You can lie like Adam Schiff has done, and you can impeach a president based on a lie that you knew was a lie. But no, you're above the law. You're above the law. But if you have a political enemy, i.e., you want to go banana republic style, as long as they're conservative, as long as they're a Republican, the rules no longer apply. Do whatever the hell you want. That's where we're at today. It's weird, man, because I'm in a position. I have stuff outlined here. I'll get into more. Let's hear this audio clip. This is Michael Cohen. This will be the star witness for the prosecution. The man whose attorney came out and said, whoa, wait a minute. I heard Michael Cohen on TV lying through his teeth. The guy has been convicted of perjury. The guy was convicted of lying on all sorts of other things and doing all types of dirt beyond negotiating for Trump or what have you, but all types of counts against this guy. And I'm not to say that he's incapable of truth, but when it comes to this scenario, the guy has been lying so much, it's almost like he has to keep lying. It's almost like he has to keep lying. Michael Cohen is a star witness. When his attorney, his former attorney, came out and said, wait a minute, Michael Cohen told me that Trump had nothing to do with this payout. He was simply being billed. Again, Michael Cohen took out a HELOC loan himself of $130,000 and made the non-disclosure agreement with Stormy Daniels, or whatever her real name is. I forget her real name. I actually feel bad for that. My goal isn't to, porn star. Everybody knows she is. But nonetheless, this guy made a deal with her, said he didn't want his wife to know. He didn't want Melania to know. It had nothing to do with the Trump campaign. That's just how he handled it. And yet here he is. Here he is making the rounds. But he actually said something interesting at the end of this clip that I think stunned Don Lemon, as Tucker Carlson calls him, and also Camerata. I forget her last name. She used to be on Fox. Man, I did not know that she was that big of a lefty. I mean, when she was on Fox, I thought she was a Democrat. I wasn't sure. I thought she swung a little to the left, but man, she is a full-blown lefty. All right, Allison Camerata, I believe is her name. So let's go ahead and roll this clip here. This is Michael Cohen. This would be Alvin Bragg's star witness, folks. What a freaking joke. Here we go. Let's roll the clip. Por favor.
Well, tell us this, because you've lived through this. So you have been indicted and arraigned. What will it look like next week, which is the timing we hear is happening? What will it be like?
And you went to prison.
You went to prison.
Twice.
But what will it be like next week for former President Trump?
You know, he's right now trying to play the tough guy. Oh, I'm going to, make a spectacle out of this. First of all, the grifter in chief is going to try to do exactly what he's been doing, and that's to fundraise off of it. I think he made over $2 million. Who these dummies are that are giving their hard-earned dollars for a guy who gets indicted? I'm not sure. I didn't see anybody throwing that kind of money when I ended up getting indicted. It makes no sense to me at all. However, we do have to acknowledge that he is a former president, and there is a certain amount, despite whether you think he should or should not receive that benefit. He is a former president of the United States, and there's a certain
even
way that
Michael
we
Cohen
should
is
handle
willing to
this.
say that.
First of all, there's a whole slew of issues. Yeah, he still has Secret Service protection. Putting handcuffs on somebody who's in the custody and care of Secret Service is not simple.
So it's going to be different than your experience.
Let's just say much different.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be handcuffed. According to sources, they said he's going to have an expedited arraignment, right, because of the unusual circumstances. There will probably
Don
be
Lemon trying to come in and
the
sound
mugshot
smart,
is still up in the air.
well informed.
There will be handcuffs.
No, that I believe he's going to have to. He has to be processed
I'm
the same
hearing-
way
I'm
as
hearing
everyone.
the mugshot is up in the air.
I think that would be wrong.
He will not spend
Handcuff
any
he
time.
doesn't need because there's no reason. On top of that, it creates all sort of security issues to have the former president, who, again, in the custody and care of Secret Service, to have his hands behind his back.
I'm told he won't spend any time behind bars. That he will definitely be fingerprinted.
Why would you say you mean when he's
Because
in
of the
holding
unusual,
there?
he won't
Yes.
be in
And by the way,
the holding.
By the way, Don, personally, I don't want to see him paraded that way.
Why not?
Remember, because he's a former president of the United States. Because
Listen
I
to- listen to
actually
Don
care
Lemon. Why
more
not?
about
Why
the
not?
office of the presidency
My God.
of the United States
what a
than he
doofus
does.
Don
I
Lemon
don't
is.
want to see this made into the laughingstock of the world. He was still a former president. I mean, these are the things that you see from other countries like Venezuela, right? I mean, you don't expect to see the former. This is a first time ever in the history of this country that a president, former president, has been indicted. This is unprecedented. And the more that we keep this, we'll call it classy, the better it is for our position in the world.
Listen to this. How crappy, Gabe? We may have to do a clip just of this video. How crappy is your news network when Michael Cohen is coming on and talking to you about the importance of keeping the arrest of a former president classy, of telling them how dangerous and complicated this could be, and it's a big deal, and how we don't want to go down the road of a Venezuela, of a banana republic. How crappy is your news organization when Michael Cohen is the moral authority and the virtue of common sense? Oh my Lord. Guys, we have crossed the precipice. This is insane what we're going through. It doesn't matter how you feel about Trump. Take Trump out of it. If we had done this to Obama, if we had done this to Bush, this is not what we do in the United States of America. When you have, if anyone deserved to be prosecuted, it would be Joe Biden. 150 suspicious activity reports, meaning he was flagged by our own U.S. government for sending money or receiving money abroad, acting as a foreign agent without registering as a foreign agent, making a buttload of money. The Biden crime family. And nobody's talking about that. Notice how that news just went out the window a couple of weeks ago as soon as this news came in that Donald Trump might be indicted and arrested. And now this week, the banks are going topsy-turvy. The economy is freaking in shambles. But good job by the mainstream media. They got all of that crap out of the headlines, all of it out of the headlines, and they get to fundamentally transform America. Is it worth risking our republic for a convoluted paperwork issue? Risking the republic, throwing it down the drain. This has only happened once before. We talked about this. A guy by the name of Eugene V. Debs. I believe he was a socialist. But anyway, he made a presidential run against Woodrow Wilson back at the turn of the 20th century, I believe, or right after, or leading up to World War I, or maybe right after. I can't recall. But anyway, yeah, the third party candidate had been charged with sedition by Woodrow Wilson in World War I for urging people to ditch the draft in a public speech. So this was a presidential candidate, right? That was the only time that's happened. And he was later pardoned by Warren G. Harding, a Republican president. But he was a candidate. We're talking about a former president. The left says nobody is above the law. Democrats are above the law. They prove it every week. Alvin Bragg, listen to the crimes he won't prosecute. He won't prosecute. He won't prosecute resisting arrest. Imagine how much that emboldens a criminal to know that police, you can resist arrest, and police can't do a damn thing about it. You don't think more police officers are getting beat down as a result of that? Fair beating. I'm assuming that's people that are jumping over those turnstiles. I assume that's what that is. Prostitution and trespassing. Well, Carl, prostitution. Listen, the problem with prostitution is there are other crimes that are always associated with prostitution, whether it's robbery, rape, murder. Those are the things that people never want to talk about. It's always like, yeah, prostitution, and we should legalize prostitution. You know, I get it. You know, people should be able to do whatever. But the problem is there's a lot of crime that's associated with that type of stuff. But nonetheless, that's just gone. All right, don't worry about that. Trespassing can be a small thing. It could be a big thing depending on where people are, so on, etc. But that's gone. All right. So grand larceny, those charges have been reduced significantly under the leadership of Alvin Bragg. Grand larceny cases, people have been given slight slaps on the wrist. Also, notorious gang members with mile-long rap sheets have been let go. Since taking office, Bragg has downgraded 52% of felony cases to misdemeanors, 52%. So people that have committed more severe or hardened crimes, they've been their crimes have been downgraded to misdemeanors, yet a convoluted paper dispute is upgraded to a felony. And also, this guy has run out of time. The statute of limitations has run up. So we know this is political. He sealed the indictment, so we can't even see what the hell Trump is being charged for. And they just leak stuff out. It's death by 1,000 cuts. But you know what this is going to do? We all know what this is going to do. It's going to embolden Trump, right? It's going to embolden Trump supporters. It is likely that Alvin Bragg just secured the nomination for Donald Trump. And I can't speak to the general election, but it's likely that he just secured the nomination because people are tired of this crap. Enough is a freaking enough. And I know the left is thinking, I know what the left is thinking. It sounds convoluted, but they believe they can beat Donald Trump. That's what they believe, even though they didn't in 2020, in my opinion. But they believe that they can beat Donald Trump. And their goal is, all right, people are like myself, people or others are going to say, man, they are beating up on Donald Trump. Let's go to his rescue. Let's vote for him. But this is much bigger than Donald Trump. But that's what they're counting on, because they think that they can beat Donald Trump in 2024. We'll see how it works out. But they are definitely, in my opinion, ushering him into the nomination. I think it's going to be very hard. And I say this as a person. I know a lot of people can't stand DeSantis. I like DeSantis. I do think he's ready, as ready as you can be to be a president. And I think he's been able to look at Trump and what he did. And quite frankly, I think almost anybody that comes in after Joe Biden, the economy is going to do much better. I mean, anybody. Not saying that I'm saying under a Trump presidency, I think it'd do better. Under a true conservative, I think it would do better. But you could get the weakest of Republicans to come in at this point, and Biden has destroyed the United States and our economy so badly, they might look good. But serious crimes, Alvin Bragg isn't worried about. He wants to get Trump. He wants to get reelected. He wants that name recognition. He wants to secure his legacy in history. I hope that Alvin Bragg, really, I think justice means that Alvin Bragg needs to one day lose his law license. And I think he needs to, there's no doubt in my mind, this guy is corrupt. I'm just speculating, but obviously when you do something like this, I hope he loses his law license, and I hope he gets a taste of what it's like to be behind bars. I really do. I think that's the only way this stuff ends. I think that if Once Donald Trump gets past this, I think, if possible, this guy needs to be made an example out of. Democrats are above the law, but you're not. You love America, you're not above the law. Any honest observer understands that this is a case of, this is politics. This is hardball politics. The real people of America, we're the criminals. Think about this. Think about this. Remember when Joe Biden gave that satanic speech that he gave? You guys remember that? That satanic speech with the background looked like he came straight out of hell. And he said basically MAGA Republicans are a threat to democracy and all that kind of nonsense. What better way? This is from the Hat Tip to Daily Signal. Jared Stepman made a great point. He said, what better way to show that Republicans, MAGA Republicans, are a threat to democracy? What better way to show that than to put the original MAGA Republican in jail? Man. They want to scare anybody. They want to scare Trump off. They want to scare Trumpsters off. They want to scare any Republican that would dare to question and go against the machine and the status quo. They want to scare the crap out of them. They want them to know you are going to sit down and you're going to shut up. But I got to tell you, this is good news, because here's what we did. Here's what we've managed to do. And I've been thinking through this a little bit. Here's what we've managed to do. See, as conservatives, we're saying enough is enough. We're saying, what are we going to do to change things? What if this is what change looks like? See, we're all right, at the risk of sounding hyperbolic, but it's true. I think we're in a soft revolutionary war to remake America. And no guns, thank God, no. But I just wonder if this is what it looks like. The left has gone crazy. And they've gone crazy because they're no longer like the British Empire, right? These Americans are freaking fighting back. So things are going to get crazy. Things are going to get chaotic. Faith, family, freedom. Hold on to them. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said that he will not assist in the extradition. Some people might think this is purely political. Perhaps it is. I don't know. Regardless, it's the right move to make. Regardless, it's the right move to make. Hey, Florida's not going to be a part of this nonsense, a part of this crap. We're not going to be a part of it. Gelling political opposition on shaky charges is the kind of thing that we see in corrupt dictatorships. It's a precedent that will repeat itself. So if Trump gets arrested for ostensibly holding different political views than the left, than Joe Biden does, who's next? If Republicans gain control, should they, if someone on the left stands up to them, should they be allowed to arrest a political opponent? Because we know that Democrats are corrupt as hell when it comes to financial leanings. I mean, look at their leader, 150 SARS reports, and the left crickets. No one said anything about it. Biden family members, 4 of them at least, paid out $1,065,000. Crickets. And that's just from one investigation that James Comer has looked into over the House Oversight Committee. The message that Bragg is sending isn't that nobody is above the law. It's that the law is out to get you if you disagree with the regime. That's the message that Bragg is sending. Guys, we're embarking on a dark journey. I do want to say by stirring the pot, perhaps in essence, this is what maybe this is what it looks like to fight back. But I can't sit here and deny the fact that we have crossed the Rubicon. We are no longer in a constitutional America. Again, I heard Mark Levin say it over 10 years ago. I've been saying it for a few years. I've been convinced of it for at least a few years, and I have expressed just that. In a post-Christian America, what will things look like if a dictator takes over? What will happen if a dictatorship? We don't believe it could happen here. Guys, it could happen here. Every place a dictatorship has happened, people are like, it couldn't happen here. Venezuela, Cuba, can't happen here. But it happens. It happens when people go to sleep. See, we're a republic. We're a republic. We're not a democracy. We're not mob rule. Mob rule always leads to a tyrant rising up, right? Because you got all of these people, mob rule, people go insane. You got crazy people that think men can be women, women can be men, so on, etc. And then the majority of people believe them. And then if you don't believe them, they want to squash you. So no, that's why we have a republic. That's why we elect representatives, because no matter how big our republic grows, we can elect representatives that can still represent their district, represent their area, instead of this mob rule nonsense, right? Because people in a democracy can't pay attention to politics all the time. All they can do is BMW, bitch, moan, and whine, as Larry Elder would say. But by then it's too late, because a dictator comes in and say, oh, this is what everybody wants, blah, 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 or shapes the narrative, and then he takes control, rises up and takes control. That's not what we have here. We still, even though it's post-constitutional, the way that our country works is we still have representatives, and we just won the House back. So thank God we can win the Senate back. We can win the presidency back, but we're going to have to fight. We're going to have to fight. It's going to be a long, arduous fight, but we're all Trumpsters now. And what I mean by that, I'm not saying that, hey, everybody must vote for Trump, but we do need to back him on this. You do need to be absolute and unequivocal in your defiance against what's happening with Donald Trump. You need to make it loud and clear. This is wrong. This is evil. This is the stuff of a banana republic. Many people have said, no, it's time to ditch the primaries. Everybody must drop out of the race and go for Donald Trump. And I think last night I was like, you know what? That might be the right thing to do. But I've thought about that. And the more I think about it, is no. I think Donald Trump likely this will help him win the nomination. But what we don't do is abandon the Constitution. What we don't do is abandon normalcy. We cling to it. And a lot of people that say that are great people that I respect and well-meaning. But when the Constitution and our way of life is under attack, we don't abandon it by making a coronation. We cling to it. I'm a constitutional restorationist. I'm of the firm belief that sometimes that's going to get me in trouble, because I'm going to have to agree with some of my fellow countrymen, my colleagues that I love. But I'm going to stand for Christ. I'm going to stand for the Constitution, and I'm going to stand for capitalism. One last thing. Again, please support my sponsors, guys, and also please subscribe to the podcast wherever you go to get your podcast: Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube, and Rumble. Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube, and Rumble. Please subscribe there. You'll get these podcasts right in your inbox. I really do appreciate that. Also, find me on social media. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. The Carl Jackson Show is where you can find me. The Trans Day of Vengeance has been canceled. Thank the Lord. All right. So despite the trans terrorists that shot up the Covenant School, that murdered 6 people at the Covenant School in Nashville, this Trans Day of Vengeance. Why would you name anything a Trans Day of Vengeance? Seriously, why would you name anything that? Republican Day of Vengeance, Conservative Day of Vengeance, Democrat Day of Vengeance. Like, what the hell are you thinking? A planned transgender rally in Washington, D.C. that has drawn widespread criticism after the Nashville school massacre. They say shooting. I say massacre. Was set to take place on Saturday. So I literally printed this article out from AM Greatness this morning. I was combing through it, and then I got a text alert from the Daily Wire that the Trans Day of Vengeance has been canceled. Guys, that's a good thing, because maybe some of the chaos is, again, indicative of the right fighting back and the left not knowing how to deal with it, except to become more violent, except to become more vocal, except to double down on their chaos. It's all they have. They don't have ideas. They have chaos. Or they don't have good ideas. They have chaos. That's all they can bring to the table. Chaos, chaos, chaos. Because that's the only way they can transition this country or transform it into a constitutional republic, to mob rule, to a dictatorship. Chaos, chaos, chaos. We acquiesce to all the people that usher in chaos. And we're just not doing that. and the left is upset about it. So this Trans Day of Vengeance has been canceled. It was set to take place this Saturday, despite the increasingly violent rhetoric from the trans lobby. And I'm going to go ahead and defend. There's no such thing as a trans. I'm so tired of this crap. There is no such thing as a trans person. If you suffer with gender dysphoria, I feel sorry for you, because that has to be hell in your head. I'm sorry, but there's no such thing as a trans person. You cannot become male. You cannot become female, no matter what you do. I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm not saying that to be hard-hearted. I'm saying that because I think that is the compassionate thing to say. Why would you, someone that is born naturally, inside of a natural body, why would you do anything to encourage them to train that, to change that, and say, well, you got to be you? Well, what if they're already being them and they're freaking confused because they're struggling with gender dysphoria, you idiot? God almighty. Anyway, the rally was scheduled for, again, this Saturday, April 1st, 11 a.m. outside the Supreme Court. It was organized by a far-left group, Trans Radical Activist Network. The event had been announced prior to the March 27th shooting, when the trans terrorists murdered 6 innocent people, including 3 innocent young children. The official poster to the event read, "We need more than visibility," close quote. It also read, "Stop trans genocide," quote unquote. Stop trans genocide. What the hell is transgender? You see the wording they use, and they really believe this stuff. By encouraging men and women to stay inside of their normal bodies, their God-given bodies. If you encourage them not to transition, apparently you're committing trans genocide. It also encouraged attendees to wear a mask and bring a buddy, close quote. But there was a lot of backlash. There was a lot of backlash because they used the word vengeance, because they used and the ominous suggestions behind the "we need more than visibility." It got a lot of backlash, but you see the White House backing the trans community up right now. However, the event organizers said in a statement that this protest is about unity, not inciting violence. Tran does not encourage violence, and it is not welcome at this event. So violence is not welcome at that event. Is violence welcome at the Covenant School? Because I haven't heard you guys condemn that. Vengeance means fighting back, the organizer says, with vehemence. We are fighting against false narratives, criminalization, and the eradication of our existence. Actually, you can never be eradicated because heterosexual couples will continue to have male and female babies, and some will have gender dysphoria. Bunch of BS. I'm so tired of this crap. So maybe this is what fighting back looks like. Guys, listen, I appreciate you tuning in to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. Please don't forget to support our sponsor for the day, MyPillow, mypillow.com. Just click on the radio listener square and enter my name, Carl, C-A-R-L. Take advantage of the deal to get a buy one, get one free offer on the new MyPillow 2.0. All right, comes with the new outer thread that makes the pillow softer, smoother, and cooler. So take advantage of that. You can either, again, go to mypillow.com, click on the radio listener square, enter my name, Carl, C-A-R-L, or give them a call at 800-858-0263, 800-858-0263. Guys, I appreciate you tuning in to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. There were plenty more headlines that I wanted to get to express how corrupt the Biden family is. But honestly, I think the 150 SARS reports does it. You also know that the country is in shambles. Our foreign policy is in disarray. Our military is woke. I mean, it's unbelievable. Biden wouldn't even agree to protect or harden our schools, despite the fact that, he keeps coming out and talking about taking guns. He wants to end school shootings and all this nonsense. But when the Democrats have an actual opportunity to harden schools to make them safer, no, Biden rejects it. We're not doing that. Jerk. Anyway. All right, guys. That's the way to end it. Until next time, don't grow weary doing good. God bless you.